Welcome to What to Watch Wednesdays, hosted by someone's favorite film buff, Nathan. I love movies and I want to share that with you. From old originals to cult classics and foreign favorites, along with straight up drivel, WWW is your place for all things movies. Stick around and we'll leave you with a movie to watch over the weekend with your family or that special someone. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. 88.1 The Burg, your Music Central. My name is Nathan. Welcome back to What to Watch Wednesdays. And welcome to 0 degree weather for those of you here in Ellensburg. I'm cold, you're cold, we're all very, very cold. Only 0 degrees. Come on, guys, it's not that cold. Get over yourself. No, it is very cold. It has been very cold for the last 3 days, and it's not a whole lot of fun. My voice is taking a beating, but I'm still here. I'm still going to do What to Watch Wednesdays because we've got a really fun show for you guys tonight. For those of you who are regular listeners, you were probably here last week when I talked about Darren Aronofsky movies and got very sad about it. So in order to kind of palate cleanse myself and you guys as the audience, I figured let's talk about something fun. Let's talk about Mel Brooks movies. Mel Brooks, if you're not familiar, is the man who directed Spaceballs, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein. Well, I mean, you probably have heard of those three movies because those are the three we're talking about tonight. But he's a very prolific director in the comedy world, one of my favorites, and one of my direct inspirations for whenever I write comedy, because I do write comedy sometimes. It's a very fun process, and he makes it all the more fun by being a great inspiration, and I can't wait to talk about him. So stick around for after the break. First, we're going to open up with some Jurassic 5. 88.1 The Burg, your Music Central. My name is Nathan. Welcome back to What to Watch Wednesdays. And for our first movie on the watch list tonight, we will be taking a look at Blazing Saddles from 1974. Directed by Mel Brooks. I believe it was also written by Mel Brooks because he tends to also write the movies he directs. He's a bit like John Carpenter. I admire him for it. I am going to totally look that up. Oh, thankfully Google likes to save it. Director Mel Brooks. Let's see here. Screenplay by Mel Brooks. Okay, I was close because there's about 4 other people who wrote it alongside Mel Brooks. So I can't say it was just written by him. Aside from that little tangent, I'm already laughing. I haven't even started talking about the movie. That bodes well because Blazing Saddles is hilarious. So just to kind of get it started, in case you're not familiar, Blazing Saddles is a bit of a Western parody movie. It's about a sheriff who was a railway worker by the name of Bart. He's relocated to this little town known as Rock Ridge that's going to be having a railroad going through it soon for money reasons because corporate America is evil or something? Question mark. It's kind of overly complicated in the face of the fact that what the movie's really about is Bart dealing with being the sheriff of a town full of people who call him a very infamous slur because Bart is African American. Now, I will dance around this very carefully. And I know I said this was funny because in comparison to Darren Aronofsky, this is lighthearted, but I've just said, no, they call him a slur. If you're going to have a main character who's called an infamous slur, what you got to do is you've got to make the movie exaggerated to the highest possible degree so that anyone who legitimately thinks that this is harmful to society will have their cares alleviated immediately because it is so funny. And I do not hesitate in saying, I do hesitate a little bit, but mentally I do not hesitate in saying that Mel Brooks pulls this off perfectly. He exaggerates every single aspect of this movie to the point where I go, if someone legitimately was on the side of these straight up racist townspeople, if someone was on their side for the movie, they'd be missing the point and would probably have to be I don't know, tested to see if they understand how to watch movies properly because they'd be missing the point of it entirely. And I know that it's possible for a message of a movie to sail over a person's head. But what I am saying particularly is that Mel Brooks exaggerates it to the point where it's like, I can't believe in any right mind that Mel Brooks did this to be harmful. He was doing it to be funny. He wasn't trying to be disrespectful. He wasn't trying to like make anybody be offended. He was just trying to have fun and poke fun at something that was very real. But he was also just exaggerating it. And it's basically like when you're dealing with a toddler and you tell him, don't bite on your binky, and then you like pull out a bear trap and put his binky in there and go, this is what happens when I bite down on a binky. It's a lot like that. Mel Brooks is essentially doing exactly, he's calling them out by imitation. That's exactly what he's doing, to the point where it's like, this is just so funny. I can excuse it. Anyone can excuse it. You cannot say that Blazing Saddles is racist. That is trying very much to get a point across, an anti-racist message. And it is still very funny while doing that, because I watched this movie like a year ago, and then like a month ago, I rewatched it with a group of friends, and I was laughing more than I had seen it the first time around, because I remembered so many. I like forgot. I didn't remember. I forgot like half of the jokes in this movie. And then I got back and I was like, wow, this is so much funnier than I remember it being. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's got basically something for everyone, to the point that it's like, if you like awkward comedy, there's a very awkward song sung by Madeline Kahn where she's singing about being tired instead of this like sultry seductive song. It's very funny. There's fart humor, because what would a cowboy movie be without them sitting around a campfire eating beans? Except Mel Brooks comes in and goes, what if they all just fart? Okay. And I'm very childish, so I laughed up a storm while watching it. And here's the whole reason I think this movie is very anti-racist, because there is a gag in there where they show the KKK. It is factual, it is there. And they put a little smiley face on the back of their costume that says, have a nice day. How much more satirical can you get? This is not being serious. If you take this movie seriously, you are not having fun, and I will prescribe you to have fun in your life. Watch Blazing Saddles and have fun. Dang it. You deserve it. You're too serious. I cannot take myself seriously while reviewing this movie. That's how insanely funny it is. And I am not the only person who loves it. I have seen this movie on like a best of list before. It earns that place 110%. Highly recommend. That was Blazing Saddles. It feels so good to be happy about a movie for once. Darren Aronofsky really making me weighed down and feeling very hopeless. So I'm setting the tone for this show. So stick around for after the break, where we'll be talking about Spaceballs. 88.1 The Burg here, Music Central. My name is Nathan. Welcome back to What to Watch Wednesdays. And for our second movie on the watch list tonight, we will be taking a look at Spaceballs from 1987. I can't read that title without laughing, because I think it's so funny that I get to say the word Spaceballs on the radio. It's not even like it's not a bad thing to say. It's just the name of the movie, but it's such a funny name. So I guess if you're not familiar with Spaceballs, I'm a bit surprised, but don't worry, I got you. This is a parody of Star Wars. That's it. No, it's got some subtlety to it, but really it is just an over-glorified spoof of Star Wars, and I mean the original one, and kind of the original trilogy. It's really just like a big, one long pointing and laughing at Star Wars as a whole, to the point where it's like, it's become like as iconic as Star Wars itself, basically. That's a really good way of looking at it. Like, Star Wars itself is iconic. Spaceballs is iconic among... Okay, here's the best way of thinking about it. Among the general population, Star Wars is probably the most iconic thing they have ever seen in their lives. Among the group of people who like funny stuff and really like it when people make cheesy nonsense garbage, Spaceballs is iconic to them. And so and then you've got like people who love Star Wars who probably would also love Spaceballs. You've got this nice bridge of gap people here who love really good, clever storytelling that mishmashes a bunch of genre stuff, which is Star Wars, and then just hot garbage, which is Spaceballs. It's really enjoyable garbage, to be completely honest with you. My favorite gag is one where they have the Darth Vader impersonator by the name of Dark Helmet go, comb the desert for clues, and then it hard cuts to his soldiers, like his foot soldiers, just dragging this giant comb across the sand. That's just amazing to me. That kind of joke is not underrated, but it's like, you could have done anything else, Mel Brooks. Why'd you have to do that? And why am I laughing? It shouldn't be funny. And there's so many other great jokes. Like, in the most iconic thing about Star Wars is always like the big shots of the spaceship, right? So how do you make that funny? You keep it going for about 15 seconds. Not even 15. I think it's like 30 seconds of just the ship. For the first 30 seconds of the movie, it's just a camera moving from left to right, like, showing the entirety of the spaceship, and I just kept laughing more and more as it kept going, because that's what Mel Brooks was trying to do. Mel Brooks is really, really funny, and when he's trying really hard, it just lands every single time. There's like usually only like one joke that doesn't even land, and even then, like when I was talking about Blazing Saddles and I was talking about the like goofy song sung by Madeline Kahn, I said it was funny. That's like the lowest point in the movie. Like, that's the least funny part of it, and I was still busting up for just talking about it. Like, that's a really good interpretation of what Mel Brooks is really good at, which is exaggerating everything to the point where nothing is off the table or unfunny, which sounds like an ingrammatically correct way to say that, and that's because it is. But it is also 100% true. You cannot watch a Mel Brooks movie without laughing. If you do, you're probably watching a not good one, or you're just a not very humorous person. And that's a problem, because if you can't laugh in your life, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop being so serious and uptight and laugh at the fact that Mel Brooks makes a cameo in this movie where he plays a golden version of Yoda and he named himself Yogurt. Laugh at that, man. Come on. Have fun. And yogurt. That's such a stupid idea. And there's another thing I love Mel Brooks for, is when you read it on paper, you're like, that is a stupid idea. Then you watch it in the movie and you go, that is a stupid idea. And notice how I had to stop myself from laughing it while describing when it's on screen. That's because it's the funny kind of stupid when you see it on screen, whereas on paper you just go, no, this is dumb. I would set fire to this piece of paper immediately. Nah. On the screen, you cannot stop laughing at it. So props to him for being that good at it, because not everyone can pull that off. Let me tell you, you have to either be really bad or really good at what you're doing in order to get people to consistently laugh at it. That's a fact. The only reason The movie The Room is so funny, and if you're not familiar, The Room is like one of the worst movies of all time. The reason that movie is any fun and any good and funny at all is because the guy who wrote, directed, starred, and edited the movie is just so bad at all of those things, to the point where it can't stop being funny because it's just so badly made. Whereas something like Blazing Saddles or Spaceballs is so well made or so cheesy and corny, and it's like leaning into it to the point where you go, he knows what he's doing with this. He's really like dedicating the time and energy into making this as goofy and corny and cheesy as possible, to the point where you're like, I can't not laugh at the amount of effort you're putting into making something so stupid, but B, the amount of time you actually spend crafting good material for this goofy, cheesy movie that you shouldn't be making because it's stupid. It's such a wonderful blend of yes and no at the same time that it just becomes one long mess. And that's all I gotta say about Spaceballs. It really ends... The ending is cheesy, but hey... when you've got a movie that basically goes, hey guys, we need to figure out what happens in the next scene. Let's pull out a VHS copy of the movie that we are currently in, put it in our VHS player, and fast forward it about 10 minutes so we can see what happens in the movie. And it just ends up with Darth Vader looking at the camera, and then Darth Vader on screen looking at the camera. I should clarify myself and say that it is Dark Helmet, not Darth Vader. And they go, look, this is incredibly meta. I can't stop laughing at it, okay? I just can't. They made Jabba the Hutt into a stack of pizza. His name is Pizza the Hutt. And that is all I have to say about Spaceballs. I am losing my mind. Thank you, Mel Brooks. Thank you. Leave me alone, but thank you. Stick around for Young Frankenstein after the break. 88.1 The Burg, your Music Central. My name is Nathan. Welcome back to What to Watch Wednesdays. And for our last movie on the watch list tonight, we will be taking a look at Young Frankenstein from 1974. So, I should start off by saying that this is the most serious Mel Brooks movie. It's the one where he's actually trying to make a significant piece of artistic film, and it's very serious and upstanding. Very few jokes here. The basic premise is that it's about Frankenstein's nephew, who changed his last name to Frankenstein and is played by Willy Wonka. Okay, you know how I said this was serious? I was joking. This is still a comedy movie through and through. It is not at all trying to be a super serious adaptation of Frankenstein. It is trying to parody Frankenstein in the most ridiculous set of ways. But I will give credit where credit is due. This one is notoriously like a fan favorite from all of out of all Mel Brooks movies. It's also the one where he doesn't ever make a cameo. In Blazing Saddles, Mel Brooks himself makes a cameo as a mayor who's cross-eyed. Yes, he is cross-eyed. And one who's like having relations with his secretary who's constantly dressed in a bikini. And in Spaceballs, he plays this crazy mayor who just is having relations with his secretaries. And then he also plays a rip-off of Yoda that's spray-painted gold and called Yogurt. So, like, it is significant to not have a Mel Brooks cameo in a movie, because that means he's trying to not soil the experience. I say that with heavy quotes, because, like, it's still a goofy movie filled with a bunch of nonsense in it, but it seems like he's trying just a little bit, and so I gotta give him, like, at least a little bit of credit. And it's not like the movie suffers at all from not having Mel Brooks in it. It's just like, it has a different tone. That tone is still funny. It just feels a bit different, which is fine. Not every director's movie is going to feel like it's by the same director. That's kind of how it works. You grow and change over the time. The point is, I will say, this movie doesn't necessarily have a high number of jokes. It more so focuses on the quality of the jokes. And one of my favorites is how the movie actually ends. Because, not to really give anything away, but it was so crude and unexpected to the point where I was like, wow, they really made this entire movie just to make that joke, didn't they? They wrote the entire thing just so they could make that one specific crude joke and then close it off. And I mean, they always say save the best for last. They very much did it with this one. I will also say, one of my favorite things about this movie is that it features Gene Wilder playing Frankenstein. Yes, he's called Frankenstein in the movie. I think it goes without saying that the duo of Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder working together is unmatched in the comedy world. Just like Mel Brooks's directing style working with Gene Wilder's acting, it's never been seen again. They were such dear friends, and Mel Brooks is still alive, but Gene Wilder unfortunately passed away. I think either fairly recently or a little while ago, but they were a very good pair, and it does make me very sad to never be able to see them again working together. But we can always look back on Young Frankenstein as the reminder of what happens when Mel Brooks is let off the leash to make a legitimately good movie that is also just his regular style of nonsense comedy. Because I will say as well, the thing about Young Frankenstein that really, like, it set me off as the thing that's coming to mind, even though that's not like at all what I'm trying to say. More so the thing that stood out. That's a good way. Most Mel Brooks movies, they are kind of a parody of something, or like an adaptation or something. They're trying to make fun of a certain idea. This is the one where I feel like they went the extra mile to kind of like emulate it perfectly and then make fun of it. Like, okay, Blazing Saddles is definitely still shot in like the Panavision, like this widescreen style that you would see in a lot of those big budget Western epic movies. And it still has the kind of style to it. And then there's like Spaceballs, which is kind of meant to look like Star Wars, but they don't feel like they're going that extra mile. They're more so just making fun of the general genre or the general idea of the movie. Young Frankenstein kind of stands out because it's in black and white. It's basically like, aside from the fact that it's about Frankenstein, it really is just Gene Wilder being Frankenstein and making Frankenstein's monster with Igor and everything. And like, I felt confident saying like, I've never seen the original Frankenstein movie or read the book. And yet I feel like I kind of get the story just by watching Young Frankenstein. Like, that's not something you should say about a spoof movie. That's 100% not something you should say about a spoof movie. It's like, you got to see the original one to kind of get the joke. But like, I feel like I get the joke well enough without having seen it. So, credit where credit is due once again. I will say, as just to kind of like close out everything every sort of feeling I feel about Mel Brooks, I wish he would make another movie. But at the same time, I also know that he's old. He's over 90 at this point. And if he did, I'm highly convinced that the amount of exertion and like exhaustion he would feel from making another movie would actually like be detrimental to him. And so I don't want to like say that he definitely should, like we should put him through the ringer. But he's also a filmmaker that I highly respect just because of how silly he is. He deserves he doesn't deserve respect. He deserves to be put in a time capsule and be told, this is what comedy used to look like, kids. This is when it was funny. And I wish there were more people who were emulating Mel Brooks. I know I myself will definitely try to emulate Mel Brooks as I go into the film world, but I won't always try to, because there's only one Mel Brooks. And so I think I should close out by saying, stick around for after the break, where we'll close out tonight and give you guys the weekend watch. Welcome to the end of What to Watch Wednesdays. We reviewed Blazing Saddles from 1974, Spaceballs from 1987, and Young Frankenstein from 1974, all directed by Mel Brooks. All very funny movies in their own right for different reasons, but all have the unifying factor of being directed by Mel Brooks, and just a very lighthearted episode in comparison to Darren Aronofsky last week. Very differently toned. I had fun. I hope you guys did too. We are going to close out by I will tell you guys what my weekend watch is, or the recommendation I'd give you guys to watch over the other two, the one that I think is kind of the best one out of all three. And let me tell you, it's kind of a hard pick because I love all three of these movies. Although I will say, I just love Mel Brooks in general. I feel like I'm kind of biased towards Mel Brooks, so anything he does, I'll be fine with it. I even like the less than optimal movies that I haven't seen quite yet. I'm sure I'm gonna find something to love about him, because Mel Brooks is just that funny. Okay, I have an excuse. I get to be biased. Let me be biased. Okay, enough stalling. Let's get to the point. The weekend watch is Blazing Saddles from 1974, mainly because it is available on Netflix, and as I should also mention, Spaceballs is available on Max, and I don't know where Young Frankenstein is available. I googled it, and it just didn't show me anything, so that just means it's off in the void somewhere, so I can't very well recommend it if you guys don't have a way of watching it. Blazing Saddles is legitimately so very funny as long as you don't take it seriously. So watch it when you're in a mood to just see something dumb and fun and not really think about any of it, because there is a good underlying message if you really do think about it. But I can see someone getting out there and watching the movie and thinking about it and then taking away like the negative aspects of the movie, like how it is apparently trying to push some like very harmful like theology out into the world, that like Mel Brooks was like an insensitive garbage person. And I don't want anybody to walk away with that. So I'll just say, watch it and don't think about it if you feel like the kind of person who would take something away from it like that. But if you're able to take it with a grain of salt and just enjoy it for its comedy aspects, you are going to have a blast. And that is my weekend recommendation. Speaking of the weekends, I will be hosting What to Watch Weekends this Saturday from 9 to 11. I will be talking about a couple extra Mel Brooks movies that I didn't talk about today, that including, but not limited to, The Producers and Robin Hood Men in Tights. So highly recommend tuning into that here on 88.1 The Burg. We also have an Instagram account for both of those shows. It is at What to Watch Wednesdays, no caps, no spaces. And that's all I have. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all next week.